Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We are back with all the latest crypto news from Michael, who's head of written research over on our platform, pumping out all that alpha daily and plenty of record highs. Although the sentiment's not overcooked really, considering Bitcoin's 120,000, we haven't seen complete euphoria or anything. So how are you seeing it, Michael?
Yeah, far from euphoria. I think it's some of the dashboards have like bull market like top signals, and like everyone's starting to create these types of things, and no one seems to think that we're anywhere near a top. So um, obviously you can't listen to other people and always follow the herd, but I think we're still looking very healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a bit of a breather before another leg higher and into the end of the year, a bit of rotation mainly from Bitcoin into alts.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we're all looking for, that sort of alt rotation. But I mean, XRP, all the XRP holders were celebrating throughout the week. We hit an all-time high on XRP. Again, just shows incredible strength. But we finally also got some significant Ethereum and Solana movement this week too. So yeah, it's been an exciting week.
Yeah, for everyone that's well positioned and heavy in those top weighted ones we've been talking about, they're very, very happy. And those ISO compliant coins that we kind of changed our tune on a year or so ago, they all seem to be doing really well as all this crypto regulation and banking acts are, getting passed.
It's going to be the theme of like I guess what we talk about a little bit today is that you can see that for better or worse, like TradFi is just absolutely gobbling up crypto, and they can't get enough of it. And so we probably need to have a longer form conversation around this about almost a Martin North style, like how to position yourself in this world where TradFi tries to consume crypto, which is
Mm,
not what we originally came in for, but man, it's good
no.
for price, that's for sure.
Yes, need to keep the decentralization aspect of it for sure. But at the moment, everyone's happy when prices go up.
So we see Michael Saylor starting to buy again. So he obviously ironically loves to seem to buy tops. And then kind of goes quiet when there's dips. It's almost like he wants to continue the keep pushing the narrative and keep the steamboat rolling.
Mm.
But yeah, another big buy from him this week, which was good because we did see some miners were starting to take some profit, and something that you've been keeping close eyes on too. Yeah,
Yeah, this is one of the things we look at, I guess, and it's always pretty healthy and expected when miners sell some at record highs. But as you said, it's quickly offset by Michael Saylor purchases and just all these other treasuries with people that I talk to saying, different countries, different companies, they're all going, well, what's your crypto strategy for your balance sheet? And this ties into kind of even the stablecoin stuff we'll get to in a second as well. So, yeah, it's all still healthy.
yeah. I mean, you spoke about this in the Evil Elite series the other day about Australia proposing like what was it, temporary money or like expirable money. And so this is just crazy that that's at the exact same time we're getting solutions to these types of problems, they're starting to push the problem. So I think more and more people are just going to become more and more diversified in their assets that they hold, and Bitcoin being the front of that, the tip of that spear.
Yeah, and Ethereum's still the home of most of the stablecoins for now, but it's kind of like, well, are they going to use another blockchain for their own central bank digital currency, or are they going to use XRP? And then the government going to
Mm.
start to roll out this programmable, controllable stuff through then, and then how would the XRP community react? So this is all the stuff I'm kind of waiting to see how that plays out.
With bated breath. Well, Ethereum did steal the show a little bit, like record ETF inflows. And so remember when this first launched, everyone talked about how it was like a failure. And it did seem like for months there was just nothing, like no one cared about Ethereum. But now, I was speaking to somebody who I talk to quite regularly, who's a pretty prominent trader in the space, and he's completely changed his strategy, doesn't hold any spot ETH anymore, now only holds ETFs because he wants exposure to banking and wants banks to recognize his shareholding. So now he's only holding, international ETFs in ETH to still get the exposure. Again, TradFi and crypto merging together.
I guess the important thing is that we had that wick down to $1,200 ETH, I think, only a month or so ago, and it was pretty hard to
Yeah.
talk about and say, both you and I are still bullish, and it's still the biggest decentralized, DApp platform and whatever. And then, if you, as always in crypto, if you have that conviction and it's tripled in pretty quick time, and everyone's kind of comfortable again.
Yep. So we had a couple of other really interesting ones this week, and so obviously US pushes on and continues to pass laws, and so now the Genius Act is all stablecoin based, and so stablecoins are now legal tender almost. It's almost at that point. It's like America's going to tokenize their full debt and have it trading as stablecoins, which is almost the RWA narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And are they going to make everyone back their stablecoin with treasury bills to buy up government debt and try and push down interest rates and all that type of thing as well? So, yeah, fascinating to see exactly how they go about this. And again, if it's just all part of this play to take away freedoms and privacy with whatever way they actually end up doing it.
And there was a couple of other like there's obviously been three big pieces of legislation that the US is all like pushing through right now. And that's been, the anti-CBDC Act, which is great because it seems like we can't get one soon enough here in Australia. And also just regulating DeFi. And so you can see that these DeFi primitives are just going to absolutely pop off, which is what I'm going to cover off shortly. Um, but it was the 10-year anniversary of Ethereum this week. Um, 10, 10 years of Ethereum. And there's a whole bunch of initiatives going on around about this. But it's funny when you think about how far, we've come from um, bullish Ethereum, bearish Ethereum. Ethereum's going to get gobbled up and overtaken. And it seems like there's a narrative every cycle that Ethereum's done, and there's this new chain that's going to supplant it. But here we are, still the prominent smart contract network, as you talked about.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? I miss the Ethereum ICO back in the day. That you could only participate in with Bitcoin and that type of thing. I remember reading about it, and it was pretty much getting smashed as, nah, this is never going to work on the Bitcoin subreddits and stuff. And then I got pretty deep. I think it was the end of 2015 and definitely 16 when it was just became obsessed with Ethereum. And here we are. I'm looking forward to next week's show now, 10 years of Ethereum.
Yep. So, moving on, I guess we've got a couple of really, really interesting paradigms as well that are sort of starting to take shape now. So like, as we talked about Ethereum ETFs, I think what we're seeing as well is that now everyone's almost at the point where you need to have some sort of exposure here because it's the narrative that's coming. Massive inflows. But what that also then does is the knock-on effect to all of the other DeFi primitives. And so the Ether machine today, another, I guess, ETH treasury play, which was launched. And this is another interesting one because these guys, 1.5 billion in committed capital straight into Ethereum. Um,
Yeah.
and so for anyone who was curious about the ETH narrative or what the ETH North Star was, well, it's TradFi. We've seen it now.
Yeah. And what else they're planning on doing on Ethereum. I can't wait.
Yeah. So some of the other, I guess, sub genres here as well is that, Polymarket has always been, I guess, one of the ones which we've seen slip into the mainstream as, we probably first saw this really in detail with the election, the US election, that Polymarket was the one that had the most accurate prediction about what was about to happen. But Polymarket, again, now spreading its wings, buying regulated exchanges. And so this is I see them future proofing themselves, saying that they can't get regulated out of existence, but they've actually got some sort of accreditation.
Did you?
Um,
I'm not sure if you've also got this story up, but Polymarket were floating the idea of their own stablecoin. Did you see that?
I did, yeah, I did. I haven't got the link for it here, but yeah, it's they've definitely got a really strong foothold now in mainstream. Like you see them referenced all the time on business channels and Wall Street business analysts always referencing them. So they're a powerhouse right now. They've got absolute market share, and yeah, I mean, who knows where this one goes? But again, all built on ETH.
Yeah, and I guess the idea for them is if you've got $100 million in idle bets waiting to play out, based in US dollars or USDC, can you put that to work somehow, or can they start to get more yield from all that money that's just sitting there? I think it was the idea behind having maybe their own stablecoin. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be just the common now. It's almost going to be there'll be stablecoin exchanges where it's just like stablecoin versus stablecoin pairs. And we know that Curve has traditionally been the best DeFi primitive for that. But there's just going to be so many of these that now come out. Everyone's going to want to tokenize whatever it is on their balance sheet and have it traded in stablecoin in their own stablecoin. Um, all right, well, kicking on a little bit here. So again, on the same sort of vein, Athena Labs is one that obviously is now becoming a bit of a blue chip too, because these guys have been sort of the ENA stablecoin, sorry, USDE, with ENA being their protocol ticker,
Yeah.
and they're just, you're going from strength to strength right here. Again, another 360 million raise from ENA. Like if you're looking for like an actual sort of way to get exposure to the TradFi play and to front run it, there's probably 4 or 5 main DeFi protocols on Ethereum which you can be in, and you are ahead of the game. And obviously, Athena's at the front end of that. You got Pendle, Aave, Uniswap. I mean, Sky, which we talked about, you and I, about, we don't really agree with their ethics, where they've taken the protocol, but they are going to get gobbled up and they're going to get price movement. Um, yeah, there's a pretty blue chip bunch of like Ethereum based DeFi protocols now.
Yeah, and it's about we've spoken about the narrowing the yield. So in the TradFi world, borrowing crypto and all that might be 10% versus in the DeFi world closer to 1, 2, 3, 4%, and it's that big gap of hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions of stablecoins that's going to get closed this cycle as the melding of the two worlds happen. And this is capital pouring into the crypto market, and this is why price go up.
And you think about like traditionally, like a super fund in Australia tries to outperform the market and get, 6 to 8% returns. But that's almost a cakewalk these days inside some of these DeFi protocols where you can go and chuck your stable coins in and you'll make, you know, 12, 14, 16%, like fairly, like it's fairly common now. And you don't have to go looking too far and wide. And so what it does is it warps people's expectations and they start taking on more and more risk. But these things are now becoming commonplace inside most DeFi primitives.
Yeah, and it's the same, curse for the property market. If you're getting 5%, rental yield, it's just, and all the worries now with property and all this kind of other stuff. There's just more and more reasons for more assets and capital to come into the crypto world than these traditional, places to park your money.
Anecdotally, I was listening this week to Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, and he was mentioning that out of, this is obviously a very wealthy investor, and he's 20% exposure to crypto markets. That's out of all of his net worth, 20% exposure. And he's right up in this stuff. He's like, he's looking for all of these sort of DeFi primitives and everything like that. So you can see that even, seasoned investors and like traditional investors are getting very degen with some of this stuff now too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to shift gears a little bit over to Solana, to the Solana world. So Jito, which has been one of the I guess the big, DeFi primitives inside the Solana ecosystem, is starting to now like roll out new products as well. And this is the Solana fight back too. So we've seen that their brand is sort of taken like a little bit, I guess, of less a serious image because of all of the pump fund type sort of stuff. But with their own block assembly marketplace now on Jito, and for those that have been around during the bear market, Jito had one of the biggest Solana airdrops ever for Solana stakers. And they do offer like a wide variety of products, but they're expanding that suite a little bit now through, I guess, more products and more things that they're trying to launch. And so this is sort of blue chip Solana territory.
Yeah.
And then along the Solana vein too, we've been waiting for this Solana client, Fire Dancer. But this is another project here where they've taken that Solana client and they've actually sort of launched their own Solana layer one. And so again, the competition gets hot, and you can see that some of these teams that don't want to sit around and wait for core protocol upgrades, so they've gone and sort of balked it and done it themselves. And so now Solana has its own competing SVMs all rolling up around the place. So who knows where this stops?
Yeah, just as we saw all these EVM compatible chains come along, that's interesting that it's happening now to Solana, which was seen as the fast mover. That some people aren't even happy with how fast they're moving and they're forking and doing their own, that type of thing.
Well, we always saw it is that like you had Ethereum, which was rammed up against Bitcoin in the race for being money, internet money. But then Solana was trying to come in behind Ethereum, and everyone was getting really excited that it was going to take over Ethereum and supplant it, but not realizing that there's like 8 more protocols behind Solana as well, also trying to eat its lunch.
Yeah.
And so this is why like a basket of all of these blue chips was just the winning strategy. You could be involved in all of these protocols and it didn't matter who won the fight, you're going to do well.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so a bit happening. Pretty exciting about like where we are at this stage of the market. But you can check out like on the platform. We obviously are diving more into like individual protocols as well, and about where some of the bets are as far as like the meta plays. And as we rotate more and more into alt season, we'll see the money filter down lower and lower down the market caps. And so there'll be opportunities aplenty for the next several months, and it's getting pretty exciting.
Fantastic. Well, mate, keep up all the good work. Keep pumping out that alpha, and we will chat to you again next week. Cheers, guys.